Welcome to Sinkowitz, hosted by the fearless Linda Sinkowitz. She's syncing you up with the latest in election integrity, from breaking headlines to critical updates you won't hear anywhere else. With Linda, it's facts first as she leads the fight for one vote for one legal voter. Stay informed, stay empowered. Let's jump in.
Hi, and welcome to Sinkowitz. My name is Linda Sinkowitz. I am the founder and CEO of Fight Voter Fraud, and you're watching us on OBBM Network TV. And welcome to our 20th episode. And this week's guests are from Project Civica out of New York, and we have Hermance and Steve Gillan. They'll be on very shortly. The states that we're going to be discussing today: Florida, Nevada, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Texas, Utah. Then we have some national information. Then we're going to go to vote notes. And our vote notes this week is that Maryland responds to the Fed's request for data with a step-by-step guide. They are actually complying, and I think that's fabulous. So right now, let's go to our guests. Hi, Kim and Steve.
Good morning.
Hi, Linda.
Welcome to the show. Now, we want you to tell us what you are doing in New York with Project Civica.
Yeah, sure. So we are a 501c4 nonprofit, and we are working hard fighting for New York through civic action. So we look at the entire political process, the election process, everything from committee strategy, which sometimes is called precinct strategy. We don't have precincts in New York. We have election districts, so we call it committees, to the very end, which is election integrity. And we're working on all aspects of that process.
Excellent. And Steve, what is it that you do with Project Civica?
All right, so I get out there and get the word out on the work that's being done and the problems that exist within, the election integrity arena. Besides that, we also feel very strongly that we need to get candidates and elected officials in there that actually care about election integrity. We know, especially here in New York, if you aren't familiar, we have a one-party rule. We have a governor, Hochul, a Democrat. We have a state Senate and state legislatures that are super majorities. And whenever we approach them with the data that we find, that our research team finds, they couldn't care less. They don't want to do anything about it. That's why we're pretty excited about the effort that the federal government is finally going to take in this whole area. Because unless we fix that, we could all scream and yell and do all the research that's being done. I mean, the work that you guys have done, Linda, and our research team at Project Civica, a lot of hours, a lot of effort, and to fall on deaf ears is aggravating. So as far as Project Civica, I'm director of political affairs. We have 12 candidates that are running for city council in New York City in this election. And it's mainly to get people in there that care about voter integrity, election integrity. So, Project Civica is doing that sort of work.
I know we had something recently about in Brooklyn. You had a primary and there were some issues there.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So it's a Republican primary at 47th district. And what happened was you had the chairman of the Republican Party for the county of Brooklyn running within his home district against a challenger that came in, and the challenger won. And, it shows the problems that exist within the Republican structure, leadership structure within the 5 boroughs of New York. And, that was a big win for, people that want the party to be strong, because, everybody in the country knows what we're up against in 25 with our mayor's election. And we need a strong, opposition people to come forward and change things. And the bottom line was, after 3 recounts, not the chairman, but the other gentleman won. The challenger won. So that was big. But they found 2 dead voters in there, and it was funny. It was the Democratic challenger that actually brought it to the New York Post and the New York Times to identify these two people that were dead that voted within the Republican primary.
Right. And they were 107 and 101 years old.
Well,
And unfortunately,
they're very healthy in Brooklyn. I mean,
yeah.
they're very healthy.
And their votes actually did count, because once the ballots went in, they don't know which ballot was theirs.
Well,
So,
just on a side note, there were 20 additional ballots that came in after the fact, after the primary date, that they tried to get to be counted. And the district attorney in Brooklyn is actually looking into that matter right now.
yeah, it's even on small races, there are issues.
I mean,
So-
just imagine they were cooking the books or stuffing the ballot box, if you will, it appears, with 20 votes and dead voters. And there was also a voter who was asked to cure his ballot, who says he never voted. So just imagine that's just one small little section. Imagine that now exponentially bigger over the entire United States. And you can see why people really have problems trusting their elections right now.
Oh, yeah. And what you have been working on is actually finding anomalies, finding double voters. You want to tell us about that, Kim?
Sure. So we started with a partnership with an election integrity group out of New Jersey. We compared voter rolls between New York and New Jersey and found 81,000 double registrants, people that were registered in New Jersey on the rolls and people that were registered in New York on the rolls. Of those, 400, just under 400, appear to have double voted. So that means they voted in both New Jersey and New York elections in November of 2024. So we have isolated those by county, and we have taken those double votes and brought them to DAs across New York State to investigate. And we also were able to take a look at the national change of address. That's a report offered through the post office. So we can, double check on those double votes, which we did. And, you don't want to accuse people of something that isn't true, right? Obviously. So we did our due diligence as much as we could as private citizens. And now it's up to the DAs to hopefully investigate. And actually, Steve was involved in bringing some of those double votes to a DA. So, I don't know if he wants to add in here a little bit.
Sure. So we, the research team came up with the names, and instead of, I think the number was around 400, if I'm not mistaken, statewide, but we did have specifically 24 within Suffolk County. And, Suffolk County DA, Ray Tierney, is a very straightforward guy. So we had the opportunity, myself and another member of our team, Roy Reynolds, had the opportunity to sit down with the chief of the bureau for, political situations like this. And we supplied them with all the information that our research team put together. And they seemed very receptive. Their question to me, and I'm sure you're running across it too, Linda, and everybody across the nation is how do you prosecute these? How do you prove that the facts remain when you're an outside organization and you don't have the capacity, subpoena power, and things of that nature? I mean, I looked at all your stuff that you gave us, Linda, and the information you gave us was phenomenal. However, it still doesn't give us subpoena power to prove that these people have voted in New York and New Jersey in person on election day to prove where they were.
That's where it ends up being up to the law enforcement themselves. And fortunately, the Department of Justice is hopping on board with this as well. And hopefully we will see a lot of action in the future, instead of everybody sitting back going, well, we couldn't tell if it was them or not. Yeah, exactly. Well, the point is, you've got people registered in two different locations, one of which where they don't live, which if you're voting and you don't live there, that's a felony, because you've actually signed the absentee ballot that you may have sent in. It says it right there that if you lie, it's a felony.
14
So
of
we
our
actually
people,
have people accountable now for doing
14 of
that.
our people voted in person in both states
Yeah.
on election day.
Yeah. So,
We
so
also
then-
took, I was going to say, we also took a look at Florida because the one of the things we were able to determine from the report from the National Change of Address is, what are the top states that people have moved to, which is kind of obvious. Florida is a big one from upstate, from New York, right? We looked at Florida, and right now it's about just over 12,000 people registered in Florida and New York. So somehow they're doing better. Florida, New York is doing better than the New Jersey, New York, in terms of fixing or cleaning or, working on the voter rolls. The other thing I wanted to mention is we have done some work on non-citizen voting. So that's a difficult one to prove. Speaking of things to prove, right? How do you determine that? And one of the interesting things is I was listening to a podcast by one of the Doge people, and he was talking about how immigration services, when people come across the border and seek asylum, so they're in the system, they're given a January 1 date of birth. And so we took a look at date of births in the New York State voter rolls, and we found that the number of people, voters who have January 1 date of birth, you're twice as likely to have a January 1 date of birth in the New York State voter rolls than any other date in 365 days of the year. So it's quite a spike. And the interesting thing also is if you take a look at that across when they're registered, presidential years tend to be quite a bit higher for some interesting reasons. So we really believe that there's a number of non-citizens on the voter rolls. Again, it's tough to tell because we don't have social security numbers and we don't have that information, but it definitely needs to be investigated. And one of the major initiatives we've got going on right now this summer is we are trying to educate New Yorkers on the SAVE Act, which is the act that has passed the House, is stuck in the Senate. And so we're involved in a national effort to try to get that SAVE Act passed so that only citizens vote in our elections, just like it says in the Constitution. It's very clear in the New York State Constitution as well that only citizens should vote. And, we're educating and collecting signatures, on a petition, so people can go to projectcivica.org and sign the petition. And we're hoping to go to Washington for a day of advocacy on September 10th and just really put pressure on Congress to protect our elections, which should just be citizens voting in them nationally.
There is a way nationally that your Secretary of State does have access to. A number of states have actually hopped on board with this. Through the SAVE program, they also have access to the alien ID numbers as well. And the way the system has been changed, instead of them having to do it one at a time, they can now do it in bulk, and it's free. So there is absolutely 100% a way to find the people on the voter roll using the federal government. But again, it has to be the election official in charge, which would be the Secretary of State, who would have access to that. Do you foresee your Secretary of State actually taking advantage of that?
Probably not. Being a blue state and with all the negative rhetoric coming out of Albany and Kathy Hochul, the governor, and the attorney general, I doubt it. But we are actually in the midst of trying to get some pressure on local boards of elections to because they can sign the MOU for the SAVE system as well. Locally. And in New York State, you've got the New York State Board of Elections, but a lot of the power is still held in the counties at the County Board of Elections. So we're hoping to at least raise awareness and pressure on Albany so that the Board of Elections do, join in on the SAFE system, which seems like a great program. And now that it's free, it's helpful.
And it would help
definitely.
us all. Excuse me, I'm sorry. It would help us also, by us going to county legislatures and meeting with them and making them aware of this, because you always hear, like when some of our people met with the Suffolk County Board of Elections and legislature, and when they brought up this issue, they said, "Oh, we have no way to check it. We have no way to determine if, in fact, these people are legal or illegal." There is now, as we just discussed. So, we're going to put pressure on the county legislator. I know here in Suffolk, we'll be, testifying in front of them and making them aware of this. And it runs directly against the ERIC bill. The cost of the ERIC bill comparatively to a free service that could be utilized.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is getting these voter rolls clean. But just like you guys are in New York, I'm in communist Connecticut. It is unbelievable. And we have Massachusetts doesn't even have any Republicans in the House or Senate. I mean, none whatsoever. So we're up against the wall with having people who don't want to clean the voter rolls. So we know more so than other states out there on how difficult it is. But the work you guys are doing is absolutely fantastic. What would you say is the biggest accomplishment that you guys are proud of right now?
Good, Kim.
What comes to mind is the fact that we actually are taking action by bringing cases to DAs. I would say we're pretty proud of that. Because there's a lot of, you can put numbers out, but until people start taking action, nothing's going to happen. So I'm pretty proud of that. And we've done a lot of work also with the Express Vote Excel machine, trying to stop that in New York State. So I don't know if people are familiar, but that's the ES&S Express Vote Excel basically uses a summary card and encodes your vote in a QR code. So what the machine counts is the QR code, and not your actual paper ballot. So we've worked we've been working with some other groups statewide to try to pass a bill in Albany called Viva New York, which would retain hand-marked paper ballots. And then there are 4 places in New York where they're trying to bring them in, one of which was Suffolk County. And we've been working really hard to try to just basically stop it in its tracks. So I would say that's one of our 2 big accomplishments. We do a lot, so it's hard to just say one thing.
I know.
In the November 2024 election, we were really involved in poll watching too, as well. We trained hundreds of people statewide to get out and watch the vote. And we did it a little differently than the Republican National Committee was doing it, where they just had people sitting there. We were actually trying to have people reconcile the vote, look at the number of voters that were checking in, the number of voters, a number of ballots on the machines, and making sure those numbers reconciled. And there were many problems with lines across New York State where machines were jamming and stuff like that. And we were able to call the Board of Elections and try to get those lines taken care of for the voters, so that people weren't walking away because there was an hour wait to vote. So those are the top 3 things I would say. And then I would say for also Steve's common sense contract with New York is another big one. And I don't know, Steve, if you wanted to talk about that briefly.
Yes. So for 24, we created what was called the Common Sense Contract with New York. And what I did is I copied what Newt Gingrich did in 1994 with the contract with America, where he flipped 53 seats in the House and 9 in the Senate. We created one for New York State. And, we went out there. We had 17 candidates that signed the contract around the state for state races. Mm-hmm. And it was like so much that the New York State Senate, Republican Senate, actually borrowed it from us. And and recreated it in their own image. And but now, so we look at that, and we're bringing awareness, because everything's about common sense. Okay, you just got to use common sense in creating policy, especially when we're trying to get people elected here down in the city. we're going to need independence, and it's
Oh,
going
yes.
to be huge. And
Excellent.
and Democrats that are have common sense. So we have, again, like I said, we got 12 to 14 candidates that are going to be running under the common sense contract with New York City. And again, 7 specific policies that anybody that lives in New York, regardless of your political party, could say, I'm going to vote for somebody that signs a contract that says they're going to do this for us. If I vote for them, and I'll come out and vote for them. So we're working on that political component of it, because it all works together. I mean, each one of our agendas, like the Project Civica, everything that we're doing all works together to reach the same goal, to have, real freedom and democracy in our system. And, but, everybody's
So
work is
how can people reach out to you? Do you take donations? Do you need volunteers? We want to get that
Absolutely.
information out there.
All of the above. So they can go to projectcivica.org and sign up to volunteer. You can attend. We have several meetings there that you can sign up to attend and jump in that way. Every Thursday, starting September, we'll be back in doing our statewide strategy meetings. And then, of course, donations are always helpful. As a nonprofit, everybody, including myself as director and Steve, we're all volunteers. Everyone's doing this in addition to their real-time regular jobs. And so we can always use financial support as well.
Right. And the big thing, if I just may, the big thing that we're working on right now, like Kim stated already, is the sign-in petition that, August is only Citizens Vote Month. And we want to get as many signatures as we can, nationwide, and bring them down to Washington, because we have to, this is one of the first steps. It's not everything by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a first step that we would be able to force these states to start going through their voter rolls and cleaning those lists. So anybody can do that by signing on to our website. Right there, you can click on it, sign the signatures, but we would also ask people, you could print that and download the actual petition and bring it to your local clubs, bring it to people that sign it, get it back to us so we could bring it all down to Washington. So
fantastic. Well, I want to thank the two of you for coming on. I definitely will have you on again in the future. We really appreciate all the work that you're doing at projectcivicus.org. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Infamous ballot drop box.
Wanda's been arrested.
Around the world, people are aware of Wanda the ballot stuffer.
When fraud cancels you.
3 other Bridgeport Democrats were charged.
It's outrageous.
Take the freedom of our vote.
You gotta fight.
We're supposed to have quick justice.
Linda Sinkowitz is the election integrity watchdog in America's corner. Digging into the data to scrub the voter rolls clean, protecting your rights, respecting our Constitution. For years, Linda's mission-driven advocacy has helped preserve the Republic, exposing corruption.
The Chief State's Attorney's Office is not doing their job.
Speaking truth to power. It's pretty simple. One vote for one legal voter. FightVoterFraud.org.
Join the army.
Welcome back to Sinkowitz. My name is Linda Sinkowitz. You are watching us on OBBM Network TV. Now, the first state we're going to talk about is Florida. Now, a mailer in Seminole County, the voters got this mailer, and it is raising questions. The source of this is Spectrum News 13. And this is from August 4th of 2025. So mailers were sent to all the voters in Seminole County to verify their registered address. The request for the voter to sign and verify their address and mail back the card to the election office after putting on a stamp. Voters can also update the information online. You think that would be something rather simple. Well, the first complainer is the former Seminole County Commissioner was, quote, shocked at receiving the card. He thinks some people may think they can't vote anymore. So I don't have my tissue box with me today. Oh, well. So he would definitely get a tissue. So anyway, Amy Pennock is the Seminole County Supervisor of Elections. Says if they don't respond, they'll make 4 attempts. That's 4 attempts to reach the voter before starting the inactivation process. So everybody out there who's all freaking out, and the former commissioner who was shocked, you don't need to be. It's just trying to clean the voter rolls. So anyway, so Amy Pennock, who is the Seminole County Supervisor of Elections, said that they had already had hundreds of the ballots bounce back due to change of address, which is why they're sending out the mailers. They send out absentee ballots and they bounce back because the people don't live there anymore. So this is part of the cleaning process. So what they did was they sent out 340,242 voters, and the mailers cost $156,203.47. Now you have the supervisors of elections in Brevard, Lake, and Flagler counties. They're only sending out their mailers prepaid to the inactive voters. At least they're doing something. I mean, we need to clean these voter rolls. So kudos to a Seminole County election supervisor. Thank you for what you're doing in trying to clean the voter rolls. Now we're going to go to Nevada. So the federal election case to come in Nevada, says the acting U.S. attorney, is Signal Chatta. She's the newly acting attorney for the District of Nevada. Election case is underway. This story comes from 8newsnow.com, and this is from August 5th, 2025. This referenced the NVRA, the National Voter Registration Act, which set guidelines for registration, referred to cash for ballots, and claimed voter rolls were not cleaned in recent years. Yes, we know that. The RNC filed suit against the Secretary of State in 2024, alleging Nevada did not clean up the voter rolls and that 3 counties had more active registered voters than adults that were eligible to vote. Does anybody out there think that's a problem? I mean, I do. You've got more registered people than you have in your county. Unbelievable. So that case is pending. So at least some of the information on Nevada and some of the unscrupulous things that are going on is actually being investigated. So next, we are going to go to New Hampshire. New Hampshire, this is from New Hampshire Bulletin on August 5th. And IET sends bill to tighten absentee voting and to ensure accessible voting. I always question when they say accessible. Well, we'll see where this goes. So Governor Kelly Ayotte signed bipartisan legislation that all cities and towns provide accessible voting machines at local elections, not just those with state and federal candidates. Also signed a bill that would include more documentation requirements for absentee voters. That's a good thing. So absentee voters would need to submit documents indicating their citizenship, age, their domicile, that's where you live, and identity when they fill in the affidavit that allowed them to vote. Representative Ross Berry, a Ware Republican and chair of the House Election Law Committee, says the new law aligns with the in-person requirements, which mandates that new voters produce birth certificates, passports, or other documentation to prove citizenship, which this took effect 1 week for the in-person one after the November 2024 election. That was the general election. Now, of course, Democrats are whining. I mean, I know we try to keep nonpartisan, but the only people that ever whine about election integrity and trying to clean the voter rolls and make things accurate, it always seems like it's the Democrats. Okay. So all towns must comply with the voting machine bill. This is in New Hampshire at a cost of only $600 to $850 for the vendor costs to program each machine, and it's provided by the Secretary of State's office at no cost. So yay. New Hampshire's going in the right direction. Now let's go to North Carolina. The source is from Public Interest Legal Foundation, or PILF, and this is from August 4th. Public Interest Legal Foundation review of North Carolina uncovered 29,414 potential interstate duplicate registrations, including, well, here comes Florida, 17,817 with Florida. Here comes New York, 6,247 with New York. California had 4,383, and 12,700, or a little more than that, had the same address with duplicates, often due to name typos, hyphenation issues, or missing the Social Security data, which is usually the last 4 digits of the Social Security number. 230 were inter-county duplicates, indicating problems within North Carolina's own voter roll system. They should be able to pick those up. Why is it that Public Interest Legal Foundation had to find this stuff for them? So 613 registrants with placeholder or fake birthdays. We've seen that before. So the Public Interest Legal Foundation president, J. Christian Adams, says, these findings suggest North Carolina's voter rolls are plagued by the same type of errors they've documented in other states, unquote. So if you want to see more on the information from Public Interest Legal Foundation, go to their website, https://publicinterestlegal.org for more information on the great work that Public Interest Legal Foundation is doing with election integrity. So, thank you to the Public Interest Legal Foundation. Now we're going on to Texas. And no, I'm not going to talk about what's going on with the House representatives in Texas fleeing because they don't want to do their job in the redistricting that needs to be done. So what we're going to talk about with Texas, and this is from Texas Scorecard from August 6th. You can actually sign up for their newsletter. They send things out every single day concerning Texas. I found it's absolutely very, very informative, straightforward. You can follow all the stories and it's always up to date. So anyway, the judges on the U.S. Fifth Circuit of Appeals had, quote, no difficulty concluding that the state's ID number requirement fully complies with federal law. Yay, so we had this reaffirmed. It was in 2021 that Texas lawmakers had passed a bill requiring ID for more security in fraud-prone mail ballots. The Biden administration, along with the League of Women Voters, I swear they just raise money to do lawsuits all the time. That's all we ever see them on, are lawsuits. And there were other private plaintiffs opposed to the election integrity law. Now, this is what we've been fighting for a number of years. We're fighting, but we're finally winning. there is common sense that is actually starting to come out of this. So the voter ID number, either state issued ID or the last four of their social security numbers, was required even during the litigation period. So they kept asking for the information, thank goodness. And of course, you need to have an ID in Texas. Yay, Texas. All right, now we're going to go on to Utah. Utah, this is from Utah News Dispatch. This is from August 4th of 2025. Utah's local primary elections are coming soon and with new laws, and they have tight deadlines. So they're making changes in Utah. Every county except for Daggett, Grand, Morgan, Piute, Rich, and Unitah, hopefully I said that right, have at least one primary race for mayor's offices and city councils happening on August 12th. Utah County residents are also being elected to school boards. So the deadline has already passed to register to receive a by mail ballot. They can still send them out, but there's no specific postmark date required. Because get this, they passed a bill, HB 300, which is House Bill 300, an election law in Utah that requires clerks to receive the absentee ballots by 8 p.m. on election day. So it doesn't matter what the postmark is, as long as the clerks have it before 8 p.m. on election day, which is fantastic. Yay, Utah. And they also do have same-day registration available in Utah. The 4 digits of the Social Security number are not required in Utah until 2029, according to the H Bill 300. So they're giving them way too much room, as far as I'm concerned, with delaying the Social Security numbers. All right, right now we're going to go to another quick break, and we'll be right back.
Infamous ballot drop box.
Wanda's been arrested.
Around the world, people are aware of Wanda the ballot stuffer.
When fraud cancels you.
3 other Bridgeport Democrats were charged.
It's outrageous.
Take the freedom of our vote.
You gotta fight.
We're supposed to have quick justice.
Linda Sinkowitz is the election integrity watchdog in America's corner. Digging into the data to scrub the voter rolls clean, protecting your rights, respecting our Constitution. For years, Linda's mission-driven advocacy has helped preserve the Republic, exposing corruption.
The Chief State's Attorney's Office is not doing their job.
Speaking truth to power. It's pretty simple. One vote for one legal voter. FightVoterFraud.org.
Join the army.
Hi, and welcome back to Sinkowitz. My name is Linda Sinkowitz. I'm the founder and CEO of Fight Voter Fraud. You are watching us on OBBM Network TV. So thank you, everyone out there. So now we're going on to our national info. And this is from the Gateway Pundit on August 6th of 2025. Assistant Attorney General Hermance Gillan launches legal blitz to clean up voter rolls and dismantle Democrats' illegal race-based gerrymandering. And we're making it easier to vote and harder to cheat. In a recent video on X, Gillan announced a sweeping legal crackdown aimed at securing America's elections and ripping apart the Democrats' web of gerrymandering districts and bloated voter rolls. We're ensuring that all 50 states have and continue to have clean voter rolls. We're challenging efforts to suppress or dilute the vote. We're also attacking illegal race-based gerrymandering, and we're all protecting access for all Americans. Now, I'm sure there's some people out there that had no idea what the word gerrymandering meant a few weeks ago until Texas came on the scene. Gerrymandering is when one particular party decides to redo the maps of the districts that would be completely in their favor for their constituents in order to obviously get the votes. And as some of you may have seen with Illinois, and that governor actually made the comment that one of the districts, the one that looked like a snake, was drawn by kindergartners. I mean, you have your districts, you know what communities you live in. Here in Middletown, Connecticut, District 33, that was gerrymandered. I mean, Wesleyan University, which is in the center of the town near the city hall, is actually way out of that area into District 33 instead of being in the 100th. And there's, you got one side of the street that's, the 100th district, the other's the 33rd. But the 100th district shouldn't be on the Cromwell Middletown line. It's crazy. So we've seen this for years. And there are a number of states that are actually fixing it for their House representatives and the Senate for the federal elections, which we absolutely need to do. And not that I'm going to get into my personal opinion yet, but we need to have the census redone immediately without the illegals counted so we can get a real count of what Americans really want, even within their own communities. So now I'm going to go to our vote notes. Kind of skipped around here a little bit. Our vote notes is on Maryland because they responded to the Fed's request for voter data with a step-by-step guide. Now you're going to be able to go to our website on fightvoterfraud.org and click on the link under vote notes, and you can read the entire article. I felt it was important enough that we really needed to show what states should be doing in cooperating with the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, which is trying to see where all the issues are. They're trying to come up with a fix, trying to find out what's going on with everything. But the one thing we can say for sure is that the states are violating the HAVA, the Help America Vote Act. They're violating the NVRA, the National Voter Registration Act. We really need the entire system redone and re-verified. And we need to make sure that the public understands that when you sign an absentee ballot and you don't live where that ballot says you lived, you're committing a felony. You don't want to be doing that. You're supposed to make sure everything is accurate. And there can't be excuses. Well, I didn't know. I'm sorry. Ignorance is not a defense of the law. So the big thing that we need to be doing is ungerrymandering the districts. We need to be cleaning the voter rolls and only having U.S. citizens vote and only the people within your state or within your community voting. I would like to say it's my personal opinion, but it should be the opinion of any law-abiding American citizen who wants to see our country succeed. We can do it. We're heading that direction right now. So now I'm going to go to our trivia question. And the trivia question for this week's episode is: the 2000 U.S. presidential election was officially decided by a controversial Supreme Court decision following a recount of votes in what state? Well, the recount, just so you know, determined that George W. Bush had defeated Al Gore in that state by only 537 votes. So does anybody know what state that is? I don't know if you guys remember the hanging Chad. The hanging Chad. Yeah, it was Florida. So thank you so much for watching our program. As I said, I do have my personal opinions of things that we see. We're working very hard here at fightvoterfraud.org to clean the voter rolls. We are also offering to the public, if you want to see an analysis of people who have double registered or double voted within your county or within your state, go to our website, fightvoterfraud.org, fill out the form, and we'll send you the analysis. We know the people potentially who should not be voting in your districts. And our organization, we are busy working on doing the deep dive to actually prove, that they're the same person in both states. But these are also people who are taking away your vote. They're diluting the vote because in one of those states, they don't live there. They should not be able to vote more than once. Nobody should be able to vote more than once. And I tell people, you're going to be surprised at the people when you see who they are. They are going to be friends. They're going to be neighbors. They're going to be people you know in your community. So you can help also. You can go check your voter rolls in your town. You know who lives next to you, who moved. See if they're still on the voter rolls. You can do your part. If we had everyone across the country looking at just 10 houses on their street, you'd really help to clean the voter rolls. So once again, I want to thank everyone for watching our program, Sinkowitz, on OBBM Network TV. Our goal is to educate the public on what's going on out there. And if anybody has any thoughts or ideas on what they'd like to see on the program, feel free to email info@fightvoterfraud.org. We read every email. Thank you so much for listening and watching us on OBBM Network TV.